So for me, it was like wellness is really just about your mental attitude towards life, your approach to that attitude, and the dedication going through it. You know what I'm saying? And then taking care of your body, taking care of your mind. When I start getting off track, I start thinking about, man, look, I've been here before and I crashed and burned. And it's just, you got to police yourself. You got to be aware of what you're doing. For a long time, I was so worried about tomorrow that I forgot about the moment. And the moment is where it's at, man. Like, screw tomorrow, screw yesterday. It's just right now. Wellness is a state of mind.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things in life, and acceptance of that, acceptance of a rough life and how to deal with it, it's all a choice. You have a choice. You have a choice to either accept it and push forward, or a choice to live in it. It's what you do right now that matters, not what you did yesterday either, because I did that for a long time, worrying about my demons and mistakes and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
They're done, man. It's over. That part is already in the book.
Welcome to the Collaborative Resource Hub by Wellness Provisions. We're bridging the gap between mental health, wellness, and rock and roll. I'm Amy McBride, owner of Wellness Provisions, the most badass wellness business. Hey, are you feeling a little stuck in life? I offer wellness coaching sessions. Book a session with me if you're seeking to get healthy and ahead. Sessions are available worldwide. And check this out. Wellness Provisions supplies rock and rollers with high-quality supplements. We've simplified your shopping experience and given you a trustworthy place to go where you can essentially shop blindfolded. And did you know all our Collaborative Resource Hub interviews air on YouTube as well as all major podcast platforms? Subscribe to stay in the loop. Go immerse yourself in the full Collaborative Resource Hub experience over on our website. You'll have access to helpful resources that will inspire and educate you. So let's inspire each other. If that guy did it, so can you. Last but not least, my legal disclaimer. Nothing in this interview or the Collaborative Resource Hub substitutes medical advice. Please connect with your GP if you need medical guidance. All right. Mike, thank you so much for being here. How's your day going?
It's good, man. It's my pleasure to be here.
I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
So you are the singer of Bushido Code. Do you want to tell someone who has not heard your band before what you guys sound like?
Well, it's just pretty much traditional crossover, hardcore thrash metal, leaning more to the thrash metal side, traditional thrash metal, like, Testament, old Metallica, Slayer, that whole vibe, but mixing a little hardcore in it because that's, our roots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
out. Okay. So here's a very broad question. Take it as you may. What does well-being mean to you?
I think well-being is like, it's to me, it's a number of things. It's an approach on life. It's health, and it's mental health. So I think that all those things, if you have those things as your focal point in life, then the wellness of your life is just a byproduct of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think that in life, I think that you have to, and this is just my opinion. I mean, just a metal kid, but
all of this is your opinion, but that's why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just food for thought. But I think for me personally, it was just always like, growing up the way I did, I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice to either be this way or this way. And, with music, and I bring it always back to that because that was the big focal point of my life. That's the thing that changed my life before even God got in my life. But the thing about it is that music gave me a place to belong. It gave me a people, a tribe, if you will. And once it gave you a place to belong, then for me, everything I learned from that point on was about it. So when I was grasping for what the next thing was, I just grasped onto the only thing I knew was this support system in music. So for me, it was like wellness is really just about your mental attitude towards life, your approach to that attitude, and the dedication going through it. You know what I'm saying? And then taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, and trying to stay as positive as possible in a world that changes you with just negativity, like weights and chains is just dragging you to the bottom of the ocean. You just got to fight through it. And that's the other thing about hardcore music, of punk rock music. We grew up in a world where we did everything in opposition to the world. We choose to not go along with the grain. You know what I mean? And through that, taught you to fight everything, taught us to fight Nazis, and it taught us to fight everything that we stood against fascism and it's everything that we didn't agree with, we fought it.
Yeah.
And it was like, we're here with our middle fingers in the air. Fuck you. We're going to be the way we are. And screw anybody that, maybe that's what helped me through all that. You know what I mean? I don't know, but that was my journey, because it gave me, when I heard suicidal tendencies for the first time, and then when I heard AF, my brain exploded, and I was like, this is, oh my God, it's just like, and I got so devoted to it and so lost in it, kind of like hurt other parts of my life later on in life, marriages and such. Okay. But for a good cause, I think those things weren't meant to be, you know what I mean? So it was a struggle. It wasn't easy. Nothing is. If it was easy, then you're not supposed to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to have struggles. Like if you're not fighting your way through life, and I mean, but at the same time, I was so worried about, for a long time, was so worried about tomorrow that I forgot about the moment. Mm-hmm. And the moment is where it's at, man. Like screw tomorrow, screw yesterday. It's just right now, dude. Let's do this.
So how do you, what do you kind of think about or employ to keep yourself in check, or to course correct and be like, no, I got to stay present in today and in this moment?
I look at, it's trial and error, really. You know what I mean? I think about when I start getting off track, I start thinking about, man, look, I've been here before and I crashed and burned. And it's just, you got to police yourself. You got to be aware of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. For me, I always, people think you overthink, you think all the time. I was like, well, as a writer, you have to think in scenarios and look at the story behind it. But I think for me, it's like, I'm constantly thinking, but I'm constantly being aware of my position. Why do I feel the way I do? And like I said, when you turn 40, I'm like 45 now. So it's just, things are slower. I hate to be a weirdo, but that old quote where it's like, you have the two bulls on the hill. The young bull says, let's run down and screw one of these cows. And then that bull says, let's walk down and get them all. You know what I mean? And that didn't really make sense to me as a kid, but it totally makes sense to me now. And it was vulgar, but the idea is like, it's just slow down. Just slow down. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of where you're at. Understand what you need to do to get to tomorrow, know? And, tomorrow's in the future. You don't know what tomorrow holds. We could all be dead tomorrow. Who knows? Yeah. Lights could go out tomorrow morning. Mm-hmm. But it's what you do right now that matters. Not what you did yesterday either, because I did that for a long time, worrying about my demons and mistakes and this, that, and the other thing. Yeah. They're done, man. It's over. That part is already in the book.
And
it's over.
It's freeing too, because it's like truly, and there's quotes and stuff that go about this, but it's like every day or every moment is an opportunity to just start over. And who you were yesterday, it doesn't have to be who you are today.
Absolutely. It's a state of mind. It's a choice. I was talking to somebody about addiction the other day. And, when I was younger, I was in a situation, a little back history. I was in a situation where I was homeless, and I lived in South Louisiana, and it's a weird law set down there. And, we had these older guys that would get us to push drugs and get us to try and do drugs and stuff like that. For a long time, I thought I was an addict, but I really wasn't. I was pressured into these situations because seeing addicts for what addicts are willing to do to stay addicted is troubling. And I never struggled like that. And I feel sorry. I wish I could flip a switch or shake them or something. I've seen, so many of my friends just die for no reason at all. It's like, and in my head, I never computed it. I never computed that whole, looking at heroin as a drug and saying, okay, this is going to end one or two ways. Either it's going to ruin my fucking life or I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. That's it. There's no middle ground. Maybe I'll survive it. That's fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, but I feel empathy for those people that struggle with this because it's real. I see it. If it wasn't real, then why are people willing to go to the depths that they're willing to go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's crazy. Things that I've observed, wellness is a state of mind.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things in life and acceptance of that, acceptance of a rough life and how to deal with it, it's all a choice. You have a choice. Mm-hmm. You have a choice to either accept it and push forward or a choice to live in it. Yeah. That's the truth. It's just a choice.
Rise
not
above
an easy choice.
Or victimhood, basically.
Yeah, live in it or rise above it. That's it. Yeah. It's a choice. Addiction is a choice. It's a harder choice. It's a choice that physically hurts, but you have a choice. You can make it. You can do it. Anybody can do anything they want to do. You know what I mean? There's nothing stopping you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's again when I mean, like, your past plays a huge role into how, coping mechanisms and things like that.
Right.
But you have the choice to pick your narrative moving forward. You don't have to identify with past traumas,
Well, and see, and that's that, like we were talking before we started about that quote. That's the truth of it. If you think about the raw, see, I'm a person that words mean everything. So if you say something, they got to mean something. I teach my kids this, drives them nuts. But it's like, yo, your word is the only currency you have. It's the only, you could be the richest man in the world. If you don't have your word, you're worthless. You're penniless. You know what I mean? And to live in that world where it's like, you don't, so right, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. Yesterday's yesterday. You know, you can sit there and wallow in our self-pity, and we could feel sorry for ourselves, and we could do all these things, like and they're real, and those pains are real. But I always tell people, like, you put two hands out, you put all the good things that happen in your life in one hand and all the bad things that happened. I promise you that one that's the good things is going to outweigh the bad things. I promise you it is. The only thing is you feel those, because those leave scars, and scars don't go away. Happiness is just a feeling, endorphins, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, once that goes away, you're left with scars, and that scars, you rub your fingers over them all the time. They're constantly there. You know what I mean? You just constantly fall down that rabbit hole and just can't climb out. It's a choice. You go right back to that thing. This is a mental game.
Yeah.
It's a mental game. It's a mental game of understanding I cannot change what happened yesterday. I cannot do it. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, one day I'll be in front of God and I'll have to answer all those questions. You know what I mean? But until then, you know what I mean? We're
Yeah.
rocking and rolling right this second. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I don't care about 2 minutes from now. I don't care.
Yeah.
I try not to. I say I don't, but I try not to. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You
Yeah.
can be excited about something, but don't live in it. You
Right.
know?
Do you practice gratitude, or how do you kind of like process, emotions or feelings? Do you journal, anything like that?
Well, I write. Write lyrics. That's how I deal with 100% of my issues are through opinions that I write in the most ridiculous lyrics. I enjoy it. Like I tell people all the time, it's like, I'm a horrible singer. I don't know why people put me in bands, but I love to write. I love it. And the more the challenge is, the better it is. And I'm not arrogant. I'm not a conceited person, but I just wrote things. I'm like, this is amazing. You know what I mean? Just super pumped on it because I got to express something I really wanted to say in a very cool way. And I remember being a kid, and this is a true story. I was a kid, homeless at 15, living under a bridge, right? Back then we used to do tape trades, like your boys had a tape and he would, record it for you and whatever. And I had no money, no place to live. My mother struggles with mental health. My dad was not there, blah, 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 blah. And I was sleeping on this bridge, and I remember listening to the Suicidal Tendencies record, Lights, Camera, Revolution. And I was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, this guy gets me. I'm not by myself, because my biggest demon is rejection. I was like, oh my God, this is like, he knows me. This guy knows me. You know what I mean? Which is funny because all my friends make fun of me because I haven't met Mike Murr. I play with tons of bands, but I've never met Mike Murr. And I refuse to meet him because I'm like, this guy's going to be like, if he comes off anywhere kind of a jerk, I'm going to be so bummed for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he's like a great guy, but I just can't bring myself to do it. You know what I mean? Like if he walked in the room, I would walk the other way. I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. Like just you live in a place in my head, and that's cool. Well, same way with Roger, but Roger was like living testimony. When I met Roger from Agnostic Front, he was like the coolest, sweetest, most down to earth, amazing man that I've ever met in my life. And every time I see him, he's just like, "Hey, Mike, what's up?" And I'm like, "How does this guy even remember my name?" Like it's so crazy, But it's cool. But I got off track there. I'm sorry, but I express myself that way. But you were talking about gratitude.
Yeah.
Gratitude is, I think for me, I seek gratitude. I just love and appreciate all the people that I know. And I tell them all the time. It's like my friends tell me all the time, it's like, why you tell me I love you? And I go, I do love you, dog. You know what I mean? Like, stop being a baby about it. Because I lived without that my whole life. So to me, I like to make sure they know. My kid's 27 years old, and I still make him tell me I love you when he gives off the phone. Because it's like, yo, man, I ain't scared to tell you how I feel. I ain't scared to be me. Like, you know what I mean? The world kind of maybe tries to teach us to be shallow and how society wants us to be. And I refuse to live that way. You know what I mean?
Given to what society is, grooming society to be, it's not love at all. It's
hatred. Like we were just talking about that at work today. It's just, people calling each other just to crazy. It's most insulting name, the racist ass, just the most, and it's like, growing up, we dealt with Nazis a lot, being punk rock kid, hardcore kids, dealing with, being friends with skinheads and having to deal with all that. You grew up in, you know what I'm talking about. So, but it was like, we had to deal with Nazis and we hated them. But we hated them for a reason. You know what I mean? And hate's a strong word, but I mean, anybody supports mass genocide, I'm not really about it. You know what I mean? But now it's like you have the PC aware kids that are just so militant and very insensitive. Then you have, this new wage of white supremacy blowing up. And, then you even have, other forms of racism everywhere. It's like, just why does everybody hate each other so much? And I think Sid from Gorilla Biscuit said it's the best at a show. He's like, we should be way past this.
serious.
Like, why are we not way past this right now? It's like, I love the Bad Brains, and, they grew up during the race riots in DC and that whole thing. It was just like, that's what I loved about hardcore. It was colorblind. It's just colorblind, man. They didn't care about your religion. You could be a Christian kid, Krishna kid. You could be straight edge. You could be, pothead. You could be a punk rock kid. You got a mohawk. It didn't matter. And I think that, that generation's been lost. You know what I mean? Because when I was coming up, I was like we were anti-fascism. We were anti-racism, government and establishment. We were just rebels, But if you think about it, it was beautiful because, we were rebels, but we were rebels for a reason. Like I tell my kids, I have a little girl and she's getting to that age where she's like trying to, sit in a room and wear dark stuff. And I was like, just remember, dress how you want to. I'd be a contradiction in standing here if I told you you couldn't be a certain way or dress a certain way. I mean, I was a hardcore kid. Like, I got tattooed when I was 15. I told her at the same hand, but make sure you're standing up for something. Don't be trendy. Do it for a reason.
And even if it's just like, I mean, because honestly, this ends up, especially as you age, has like a trickle-down effect. Building your own confidence by just being like, fuck you, I'm going to do me and dress however I want. If it's building your confidence and if you can, like fight for the underdogs. I mean, like that was me growing up like that. Here's an advert in less than 20 seconds. Did you know that Wellness Provisions offers one-on-one wellness sessions? Yep. So if you're seeking to get healthy and ahead in life, but feeling a little stuck, then book a session and let's get you unstuck. Now, back to the interview. So, like, with all the crazy stressors of life and society, how do you kind of stay balanced? What do you do for self-care? What's that look like to you?
Well, for me, I hate to keep going back to it, but it's music. Music is how I vent, how I express myself. Stories, really, not just music, writings, movies, books. I'm not a great reader, so I wouldn't lie to you. My wife's probably sitting there going, you don't read. But I love stories. And I reflect on stories that I've heard growing up, things that I remember reading, things that I've watched. Like I just watched Selma the other day, and I haven't watched it. I've never really watched all of it. And I was like, gosh, such a good portrayal of Martin Luther King. It's so good. And what happened there, and I'm a huge fan of him. And it's just some of his speeches were just so powerful. And like, to me, words are everything. Like you could say something and change my whole. I wish people would really listen to words more. It bums me out that people don't really listen to what people are saying.
Yeah.
Like when he said that in a speech, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but in a speech he said, "We must learn to live together as brothers, or we will perish together as fools." And I was like, duh. You know what I mean? It's like it touches you in a way that's like, wow. You know what I mean? When you start applying those things to your life and you start seeing them for what they are and how that plays out in your life, maybe it's an older game because I didn't see it as well as I do now when I was younger. You know?
Like go through the chaos and the craziness to realize like, wow, you have to experience whatever to then appreciate the flip side. And
exactly.
And awareness to what's around you and your own thoughts. Yeah, it comes with time.
Yeah, I've definitely not gone through this life like perky. I mean, I have had years and years and years of misery. You know what I'm saying? Where I was like, quitting was never an option for me though. Like, I'm not jogging anybody who has thoughts of it, but it was just never my game. Like the suicide thing, it's just, to me, I'm a fighter. I fight. Like I ain't scared to fight anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just going to do what I got to do. And to me, quitting is not an option. It's just not. I don't know if hardcore taught that to me or was just embedded in me. Because we had to fight for food. We had to fight to live. We had to fight for every little thing that I had. And then I get something and I lose everything again. And I had to fight to build it back up. So to me, fighting was the only option. Quitting was never an option.
Mental toughness.
Yeah, you have to. I think at a certain point you have to. You know what I mean? Not cutting people. And then it could be the flip, though. You could get too mentally tough where you block out everything else and you become heartless and corrosive. You know what I'm saying? It's a delicate balance of love. I guess love and hate. It's like this constant.
And even like, because I kind of think, and I've heard this before, you have two choices. It's love and fear.
Yeah.
It's the fear that creates hate and that creates, everything. It's fear, I think.
You sound like it's exactly what Yoda said, but it's true. It's like the whole, fear leads to doubt, yeah, that whole thing, but it's true. It's the universal language. I think you nailed it. You have a choice. It goes right back to where we started. You have a choice. And that's what I think people get so lost in their self-loathing and so lost in addiction and so lost in woe is me and so lost in what I've lost and so lost in what I've done and all these things that they forget that that's already happened. It's right now. You have a choice to live in it, accept it, and move on. It's that whole expression, fight, fuck, or hit the fence. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, that's it. You could either choose to let it kill you and drown in it. You can choose to run away from it, or you can choose to fight. Like I said earlier, my biggest demon is rejection. Mm-hmm. I hate it. I hate dealing with it.
Have you ever done like traditional therapy or anything?
Oh yeah. I had a pretty messed up childhood, like when I was younger, and like I said, I got mixed up when I was young, and I got into a lot of trouble. But like I said, when I got into that and I was coming out of it, I found music. And then when I moved here to move away from Louisiana to live with my dad, which was another disaster, I became that became my life. And then that's how I found Straightedge. And when I found Straightedge, it was over.
Yeah. So what does being straight edge mean to you?
Yeah, being straight edge for me was a choice. Like it's funny because I wasn't, like I said earlier, I used to think I was an addict. I used to think that, for a long time I thought I was, because I did drugs and I did alcohol. But for me, when I was young, it was like kind of forced upon me. With these older kids, they were using us to sell drugs and, this, that, and the other thing. And I was never that committed to it, I guess. Not to the level I see people committed to it. Like when I see it, I'm like, how? It's never, I just don't get it, So if that's addiction, I definitely wasn't addicted. Yeah. But I smoked cigarettes. But even that, when I decided that being straight edge was more important to me than smoking cigarettes, I was done that day. It was just over. And being straight edge to me is the most important thing. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't let anything control my life. People are like, well, you drink caffeine. I can stop drinking caffeine anytime I want to. I prove it to my son all the time. I do it. So he's like, you still drink Monsters, bro. And I'm like, I'll stop tomorrow. Like it's I enjoy them, but I don't let, I try not to let things control my life. Being straight edge for me was also political too. It was the statements that, the Cro-Mags were making and Earth Crisis was making. And I believe in living a sober life. I believe in straight edge and I believe in hardcore. But people get wigged out because, like we were talking about the other day, we were talking about like, marijuana farming in America. And I'm like, yeah, I'm all about that. And they're like, well, I don't get that. I was like, this creates American farmers jobs. Like, I don't care. I'm not people think it's so hard when I was dating too, when I was single for a long time, because people just really do not get the concept that you don't drink and do drugs. And then they were like, well, every time they do it, they're like judging themselves. And I'm like, I'm not judging you, man. Yeah. You do you. Yeah. Like, you can have a good time. It's like, it's not like I'm anti-good time.
Right. And that's, I guess by definition, I am straight edge. I don't like label myself that because I just
you don't claim edge, right?
Yeah, but yeah, people will be like, does it make you uncomfortable if I'm drinking around you? Or I would never get invited to hang out with people like in my 20s. And I'm just like,
Dude,
I don't have fun.
dude, it took me the longest time to realize that's more about them than it is about you. It's a reflection on people, because when you're always out with people, they're like, you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't, you don't have a good time. And I'm like, I'm having a blast. I don't watching you. What is good about you getting so hammered that you throw up all over yourself, piss on yourself, and then fuck some person you never even met before? Sounds like a great time. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I've been straight up for so long. It's like you look at these things and it's like, my God, man. It's so crazy to me, because it's like, I play in bands, so it's all the time, I can't write till I'm high, bro. I got to be high to write. And I'm like, that is the most bullshit answer I've ever heard in my life. Either it's there, it's not there.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's a question. Has anything specifically like healthy that you've brought into your life improved your creativity?
It's a good question, actually. I wouldn't say, for me, God was a big part of it early on. For my friendships, I think being around other people that are like-minded, even though they have their own demons and they're not exactly like me. Some guys are, some guys aren't. I think that really kind of changed things for me. I grew up without a family, right? My mother had, like I said, had extreme mental illness and didn't really know how to take care of a kid. And my dad was a piece of shit, was gone. And then my brothers were gone and I was homeless. And you're talking like I was 12, you know what I'm saying? 11, 12. But, and like I said, I found music, and music gave me a family, gave me a place to belong. And through that, I created even bigger family. And, people always like, you guys like bunch of tough guys, you gang, I was like, we're not. We're a family. We literally go to each other's house for Christmas, and we wish each other a happy birthday. And, we love each other's kids, and, we love one another. And, because I know some pretty tough guys, and they're like, dude, it's pretty whack. But these dudes will tell you they love you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I got head tattoos too, bro. Like, I ain't scared to tell a grown man I love him, dog. It just gave us a place to belong. And through that, I think for me, that's what opened my creativity up. Opened me up to express myself.
Because it gave you, I would imagine, safety. And if you can feel safe in your environment and feel supported, then that allows you to like relax, to like.
Well, yeah, because hardcore gave us safety in the sense hardcore music did. Because I want people to understand that hardcore music is a lifestyle. It's not just music. It's a choice.
So if you had to give someone advice on how to be healthy and happy, any kind of final thoughts that you want to bestow upon someone, what would you say?
I think, just kind of regurgitate what we've been saying. I think that be happy is a choice.
Yeah.
I think you have to choose it. You have to choose it and live by it, no matter the cost.
Yeah.
And that cost could be huge. Every friend you have, a relationship you're in, a job.
Mm-hmm. Growth is uncomfortable.
Yeah, your sexuality even. You could be lying about who you really are. You don't know. Like, sacrifice is part of life. Shedding, it's like an onion. It's got to peel off layers and layers and layers, and it hurts. It ain't easy.
Yeah.
But you will live a better you if you live it honestly. Don't lie to yourself. You know what I mean? If you got a problem, own it. But don't live in your problem. Mm-hmm. Beat it. I say that because everybody struggles. Everybody struggles with their own thing. I struggle with weight sometimes, like anybody else. But I am aware of it. I know it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, screw you. You know what I mean? I'll get the best of you. I think if I had anything to tell anybody, it's like, don't give up, because you got one shot at this thing, man. One shot. There's no point of drowning in all these chains.
Yeah.
Man, take a breath in, enjoy it, because it's just before you know it's over.
Yes. And use breathing as a reset button when overwhelmed,
Found very interesting you say that, because I was at the doctor the other day, and he's my doctor is like a specialist in hypnosis, and he says stopping and breathing, like taking a small breath in, is a form of meditation. It's a form of hypnosis. So it's like, when you get tattooed, anybody who's been tattooed for a long period of time knows that, you got to calm down, You got to dig in. Because
Yep.
I got my whole body tattooed. So, you're in that fifth, sixth hour of getting tattooed.
Like
You
on your
just got to,
ribs.
yeah, you just got to dig in. You just got to like calm down, focus on your breathing.
Mhm.
And I think that you're right. I think that's a big important thing that people forget. Just stop and take some breaths in, focus on your breathing,
Yeah.
clear your mind,
Yeah.
pause for a second, slow the clock down.
Yeah, because it's peaceful for the mind, but on like a physical level, like a biological level, it taps into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest part of the body. So it really starts to rewire your brain. If you can do like 3 or 6 deep intentional breaths, it is seriously a reset button.
It is. You will. I do it all the time. Because like when I was, I'm not. I got all these friends of mine that are like super good at jujitsu, right? Like, but I remember one time I was in class and I'm like not nearly as good as all my friends. All my friends are just amazing at it. But I remember one time in class, he's like, I don't know why you're struggling. Like, you're the biggest guy here. Like, why are you struggling? He's like, just calm down and breathe, man. Just calm down and breathe. And it's like when you do that, everything's just. It feels like the clock just slows down. It feels like everything's going really fast and everything just slows down. And I've been really enjoying that later in life now, where it's like I can slow things down a little bit. Not really, but you've definitely been in a car waiting somewhere and 10 minutes feels like forever. You know what I mean? It's because your mind's already slowed that time down because it's anticipating that time to happen. But if you were busy, it would seem like, oh my God, 10 minutes is here already. Oh my God. You know what I mean? When you see that happen, you're like, oh, okay, this is real. Like I can slow this down anytime I want. I love having that control of my life where it's just like, I don't even argue the same anymore. It's just like, just slow it down. You're like, oh my God, everything you say is like dumb. I'm just done talking to you. And it's like, you just slow it down. It's like, whatever, man, I'm just going to walk away. And it just slows things down. Cause next thing you know, you're in a 2.5 hour conversation and you've gotten nowhere with somebody, and that to me was just, I'd rather just move on to the next thing, man. Let's just move on. And I think that helps in relationships too, because you stop worrying about the trivial things. Stop worrying about the stupid things. Focus on the real things. You know what I mean?
Relationship matters. Whatever stupid issue this is doesn't, but the relationship matters.
Leaving this thing, I think it's important that people realize that life is a choice. You can either live it or you can get smothered by it, because this world is a juggernaut and it's looking to run you over. You know what I mean? But you're a juggernaut. That's the thing that people don't realize, that you're a monster, bro. Like you're the king in your own world. So you dictate what happens to you. The world doesn't. You accept or not accept it. That's just the way it is. If you make mistakes, you live with them. You learn from them. Sometimes those mistakes take just an incredible amount. I know guys that are spending the rest of their lives in jail. The rest of their lives are going to be gone. But it was a choice, and you have to face that choice, because, dude, I'm telling you, in this life, it's just a blink of an eye. You're faced with the things you can face with, and if you think you can't deal with it, it's because you're not looking at it. And if you can't deal with it, ain't nothing out here is going to kill you. Only thing can kill you is yourself. You know what I mean? Or somebody else, but you can't control that either. What I'm saying is you have no control over that. You can only control it. Like I remember somebody telling me one thing, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to get on tangent, but I remember somebody telling me about relationships. And I think the hardest part for me to learn in life about a relationship was that you can't control what other people do. All you can do is control what you do. And somebody not loving you, like going back to rejection, somebody not loving you is not a product of you. It's a product of them. It's not your fault. It's not like you weren't lovable. They'll blame you. They'll try to put it on you, but that's their fault. And it took me forever to realize that. You know what I mean? It's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you hate yourself. You know what I'm saying? As far as that goes, But once you realize that you can't control that, and that you can only control you, and as give it your best, you put your head down and say, hey, did my best, bro. Sorry, it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Guess you weren't one. And that's a jagged pill to swallow. But once you get it down, it sits down there pretty good.
I mean, I think it's empowering that like your life is created by you and your choices. I mean, it can be scary for some people, but it's empowering because how you choose to respond to people or situations, because you can't control what they're doing. It's your response. Like that's empowering.
Well, I think you nail it right there, because it's like same thing with respect. It's like, I believe in a world that if you say something, you are that thing. Like, don't back down. If you say something, you got to be that thing. Once you accept that, you're not perfect, you accept that you can't control other people, you can only control yourself. That's a peaceful life when you think about it. When you start living with those buffers off and you start accepting life for what it is, because it's going to take everything you got. If you give this world a chance, it will snatch your life right from you. Hence heroin addiction, hence oxycodone addictions, suicide. It's just, we live in a world where everybody is so self-indulgent and so selfish that, I hate to say this even about suicide, but suicide is the most selfish act ever. It's complete, narcissism and cowardice. I'm sorry. And if anybody's dealing with that, I don't mean that in a negative way. Just accept what it is, accept what you're doing, and accept that it's narcissism. It's all about you. It's the most selfish act you can do, especially when people have kids.
Yeah.
And I know it seems sometimes the bottom seems like so deep, but it's just a part. It's just 1 minute of your life. You know what I mean?
And remember that people do care. Like, people care about
people love you, man. Like, don't be scared to tell. If you know somebody out there that you think about all the time, just don't be scared to tell them you love them. Be empathetic, be sympathetic, be apologetic, be all the things that you want. Like, how can you expect to live through life and not want to be appreciated if you don't appreciate things? You know what I mean? Tell your wife and your kids you love them. Tell them how much they mean to you. Don't let them think that they do and not know for sure. Because you don't know. You could be going tomorrow. Did you tell them? I mean, when you're laying on that bed and traveling to wherever you think you're going, whatever your thing is, you're thinking to yourself, damn, should have told my wife I loved her, or should have told my kid I loved them, or I was proud of them. Don't miss those opportunities. Because I know what it's like to not hear them. You know what I mean? So I learned from my parents what not to do. Instead of wallowing in, I'm a product of my own environment. That whole thing, like, that's such a lame ass excuse, man. I'm sorry. For me, it is. Like, that's how my brain works. I can't expect my brain to work like your brain. Your brain might process things a totally different way. So I can't cast judgment on you.
And it's true. And like, your perspective matters. What's your favorite quote?
My quote is from Kung Fu Panda, and fuck anybody who hates on that movie, because the movie's great. But there's a quote in it. It says, yesterday is a history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. And I live by that shit.
I love it. It's true. Yeah. And it wraps up like everything, the whole conversation, your whole perspective, which I agree with. So our perspective, it's so solid.
Thank you. Well, I mean, 45 years has taught me a couple things. Not many, but a couple. A couple things. I made plenty of mistakes. I made mistakes that I tell my kids, I made enough mistakes that you don't have to make those same ones. Make your own. Yeah. You should learn from me not to make those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're helping them through your experiences.
Oh yeah. They don't think that, but it's all right. They'll learn.
They'll come around.
Yeah.
Does your band have anything cool coming up that you want to share on or talk about?
Yeah, the record's out. We put out a record during COVID, which was pretty tough. It's called The Ronin. You can pick it up on any downstreaming, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon Music. We have a video on YouTube that came out really good. A little political, not political, but a little environmental awareness on that video. So The Ronin's a pretty cool story. It's about a look in the mirror at oneself, but kind of told in a fictional storyline. So it's a little bit fun, a little bit interesting, very nerdy. And then we got a tour coming up maybe in December, and maybe going to Europe at the next year. And, the album's done really good. We're charting in some countries and stuff right now. So, I mean, if anybody's listening, I'd love to chart in America. That would be great. So let's try to do some downloads. Go team, Yeah. That's about it. I mean, just, playing some shows and, new merch coming out, maybe a vinyl later on this year with a vinyl version of the record, which are really hard to get right now. It's so crazy to get vinyl right now.
Oh, really?
Because I guess it was a plant. I heard there was a plant burned down like last year, and like there's not many places that make vinyl anymore. So it's crazy. So, and nobody buys CDs, so you got to do anything you can these days. Yeah,
everything is just hard to come by commodity now.
Yeah, it's tough playing music, man. It's not like it used to be. There's no money in it. We do it strictly because we love it. There's definitely no money in it. Hence why I'm sitting in my work truck doing this interview.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mike, thank you a million for making time to sit in your work truck with me and share your thoughts and your experiences and just drop some good, like, positive outlook for people to absorb. I appreciate all of it.
Now, I appreciate what you're doing, because I think what you guys are doing is super important. I mean, talking to people about life experiences and how to deal with life experiences, it gives an opportunity for people to find the niche, the thing that works for them. You know what I mean? And all people need to do is hear it one time, and that's all it takes, is when that trigger clicks and that light switch goes on. And so I think what you're doing is very important, and I respect and appreciate what you're doing so much.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay, cool. Thanks.